I think I'm live here on the channel. I think so. I don't have confirmation from any. I have no confirmation from the internet, but I'm going to say that I am live now. It seems like it. I'm going to take that second here to put up my thumbnails and get everything going. Welcome to another recording session of the Comediological Report. Of course, the live stream for the next half hour isn't part of the show that goes on TV and radio, but that's good because we have rules about what we're allowed to put on the TV in terms of images and things like that, and we have no such concerns on the YouTube. So for the next half hour, we can look at all the weather maps that are out there and try to get a handle on what exactly is going on in the world. So of course, there's the big California fire update, and I've got a whole bunch of cool maps and things to show you that are going to help. Yeah, Mark Engles is already showing up, our meteorologist. So together we'll be able to dissect some of this that's going on. I just need a couple minutes here to get the show set up, as is my bent. But welcome and good to see everyone here commenting. If you can, hit like and share and subscribe and tell a friend and try to help us grow what we're doing here. That would be awesome, and appreciate everyone who does that. Let me know when you're there, Mark.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Also,
Excellent.
like, share, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Castbox.
Yeah, the podcast that starts at 7, that we start recording then is exactly like Mark says. We'll end up, here comes Hilding Donaldson. We'll end up our show. I'm almost done sharing it to everywhere. It takes a lot to get everything out there. But I have all the cool images.
What a week, eh?
Yeah, quite a start to 2025, wouldn't you say?
Building, how's the cows?
Well, the cows are doing okay. We got enough snow that we don't have to bother giving them much water, and we had a couple of cold days, -10, but they weren't bothered at all. And
Oh, how deep does the snow have to get before you have to do stuff about it with the cows?
well, if we get snow that's like 3 feet of standing snow, then we have to push trails if we move them to a new paddock, or else they drag too much of their belly in it and they freeze their bellies. Otherwise, they can pretty much traverse through it.
And those cows are going to be more hardy than the ones in Oregon. Well, I guess the problem in Oregon was that they had to keep bringing in hay because all the snow covered all the grass.
Yeah. No, we're feeding them hay anyway. So, and that's one way that we get them to pack down the snow themselves. We roll the hay out on fresh, clean snow every time we can.
Ah,
And then they go out and tramp down the snow in order to eat the hay.
do they eat the yellow snow?
That they don't usually. No.
So you know what I have here is yesterday's sat images, in which you can see this outflow. And it's like really, comparatively, there's really cold air up here compared to what's along the coast here, right? So you can see this diving wind, and you have the secondary system that went through first, right? And you can see where our fires are. We'll zoom in on that for in a second. But this is yesterday's image, and it's when we look at today's, you'll notice it'll be quite a bit different. So we'll get to that in a second. But I thought have a good zoom in here. Let it load.
Hey, can you also turn on the pressure isobars?
Yes, but it shows today's.
It'll still get the point across. Just with the caveat that this is today, you can see this high pressure center near Idaho Falls. What that is, and I know you know this, Joey, but what this is cold air is denser than warm air. And Idaho Falls is at like 4,000 feet. Salt Lake City is kind of the same, somewhere around 4,500 feet. Reno's around 4,500 feet. And so these are all very cold cities this time of year. That creates dry, high pressure, and air moves from high to low pressure. And you can see this, we call it a thermal trough right along the coast here. The coast is warmer because number one, it's lower elevation. Number two, it is warmed by the Pacific Ocean. And so warmer is less dense air. Just like if you have, a bowl, if you're putting water into one end, that water is going to go to the other side. Well, that's what's happening here. And that's why these winds are moving so rapidly towards Los Angeles.
That's a crazy looking image, eh? Now let's go to
I
today.
didn't realize they had the fire spots on there. That's cool.
Let's go to today. Yeah, it's good for a reference, and you can kind of see 168 kilometers squared. But look at the difference in the wind and fire activity today.
Yeah, it has been quite a bit less, and I'll talk about this more in depth when we're doing the actual show. But they were having wind gusts in excess of 150 kilometers an hour in places like Pasadena, which is just northeast of Los Angeles. It's a suburb. Caltech is in Pasadena. The NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory is in Pasadena. So, like, this is an urban, well, suburban setting where they're like, usually when we talk about winds this fast, we're talking about either in a hurricane or up in the mountains on the mountain tops. But this was in town.
Yeah, you get a better image here on some of the areas that have burned. In fact, we can zoom right in. And what can we say
Wow,
about
that's
this
really
neighborhood?
good.
What can we say about
So,
this neighborhood here? Now this is a lot of state forest that's burnt up, but here we have some of the richest homes in California.
yeah, that's Pacific Palisades is this neighborhood that we're zoomed in on right now. That is actually part of Los Angeles, even though like Santa Monica is due south of there, but the city limits are kind of weird. So that is part of Los Angeles itself. Um, and but being isolated off to the side, um, when there's high volumes of water being used, like say if you're trying to put out a huge fire, the water doesn't get down there very well just because, pipes are only so big and there's only so many of them going into this part of town. Um, and then again, I don't think Pacific Palisades had wind gusts to 150K, but I mean, we're talking north of 100. And when you're in mountainous terrain like this, you can see all the mountains here. Like the real problem that happened when these fires started was like if they didn't have a crew of 10 people on there before the fire actually started, it just got away too fast. You'll notice that there aren't very many big fires, but every single one of them that came, like there was one in Burbank, that didn't get away, but that started in the city and it didn't have a lot of fuel before going on, whereas these started in the woods, had a lot of fuel, and by the time they got to town, they blew up. They were already too big to control. And it did approach Malibu here. Malibu is another town, and I've seen images. I actually have a live feed from Los Angeles up on my television right now. I've seen images along Pacific Coast Highway here, right on the beach, and just dozens of homes burned all the way down to the beach. Um, so it's a really incredible situation, but it's one that like climate change does play a role here, but in making these fires more common. These fires have happened in the past, they're just increasing in frequency. The real problem is, people build in these areas and we call it the wildland urban interface. Well, if you've got your house surrounded by desert type mountain forest, like it's not that big of big of a deal to imagine it going up in flames.
The median value of the homes in Palisades is $3.3 million. And that's
Yeah.
dropped from averaging 5 million about 2 years ago. The price has a crash.
Well, you know what's going on there is, and I was going to talk about this on the show too, but we can discuss it in the pre-show. Um, Home insurers are pulling out of the market in California because it's just too costly to insure homes in California. State Farm, which is a major insurer in the United States, doesn't write new policies in California at all, and they are slowly sloughing off the policies that they have. I don't know about other agencies specifically, but it is becoming very difficult to get homeowners insurance in California, and um, it's becoming very expensive, especially in settings like this. If we were to look further south in somewhere like Anaheim or Compton or whatever, like you can see on the satellite imagery, or Linwood, it's surrounded by city. You're not in the mountains, you're not adjacent to dense forest. Uh, if you zoom in there between LA and Santa Ana, because that's all San Diego County. So this would be another area that's at risk, but go further west and you'll be able to see it's just a sea of city rather than being adjacent to the mountains. And so you're not going to have the fuel, like, small fires will still start, but you're not going to have the fuel to let it get away like it did in Pasadena or Pacific Palisades.
So strong winds still expected at times, although not like we saw necessarily. But there's a couple times that stand out to me in the coming
Yeah,
week that we could see
yeah.
some still.
These are not going to be the same, 150 plus wins, though.
No, but the thing is, people have to realize is the fire hasn't stopped just because the urban interface is subsiding in some areas. There's still weeks of work to be done by fire crews and whatnot to button things down. I don't know what the duff layer is like. I know in Kamloops area, for example, there's a lot of places where the fire burns over, and 2 days later, there's not many hot spots actually left. And I'm not used to that because I work fire in the north where fire burns over and then you're stuck with a sea of hot problem areas that the next time the weather changes will stand up and run again.
Dean in the chat makes a really good point that before, like, so it hasn't rained in Pasadena since May. And this is their wet season right now. And Dean points out that last year they got a lot of rain. Like, remember, there was a tropical storm that came into California, dumped tons of rain, flooded out Burning Man in Nevada. Like, so they had all of this rain, grew all of this understory, and then it hasn't rained since May, and so all of it's dead too.
So you mean there's more duff that's available because they had a warm spell to actually grow some undergrowth?
I
Well,
wouldn't
to
call
kill
that
the
duff.
undergrowth.
That would
Okay.
call that fuel,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I know. Like, I don't know how deep you go here in this ground where you find organics. It's like that's just me personally saying.
I don't think it's very deep.
I wouldn't think so. That would be my guess. Absolutely. And like I say, having worked in Kamloops areas where we were having a hard time finding hot spots just a day after the fire had ripped through, and absolutely ripped through.
Mhm.
This map paints actually a pretty good picture, like a pretty favorable picture, because you'll notice that the current hotspots, which are these oranges versus the yellows further south, are up in the mountains. Like, there are definitely homes up there, but we're not burning in the middle of town anymore. This bit on the west side near Malibu, that's probably what I would consider to be the most concerning. Um, because once those winds ramp up again, they'll kind of point towards Malibu. On the Eaton fire, and the Eaton fire is really incredible because, like, somewhere between half and three quarters of the area of this fire burned in the suburban area. This is an urban wildfire. It's not a forest fire near a city. I mean, look at this Altadena, where that label is. That's kind of like a neighborhood core there with a lot of um, business activity. But like the Palisades fire, most of the activity right now is up in the mountains, and we like to see that. Mount Wilson is where all the transmitters are for most of the TV and radio stations in Los Angeles. So that could be problematic in the coming days if that burns down.
Yeah, and there's significant greenery up there. What I also have seen from fires down south is they're quite explosive. You know, when they go, they really go. And it's something that too often we don't run into in British Columbia, where you have that kind of extremes. Now you do see it. You see where fires run 10 kilometers in a day, things like that. But the windows for that are very small, right? Very
And
small.
and part of the difference here is it's pretty rare to have like truly dry fuels in British Columbia. Like there's British Columbia is cool enough that water does not evaporate as quickly here as it does down in California. And so even if a tree is pretty dry, a lot of times it's still pulling up a like less water than it needs, but a reasonable amount of water out of the ground.
I would say these areas still are in a lot of risk, you know, if this doesn't settle down in time for the next blasts of wind, right?
Well, I wouldn't be too concerned about like up here by Ventura Boulevard. Um, because those winds are going to again come out of the north and so push it towards Malibu. But that hot spot near Malibu, that's probably what concerns me the most out of the existing fires. I mean, look at this. If we get, out of the northeast, which is kind of what's forecast, that's straight into Malibu, Pepperdine University. That's a and you know Malibu again is a very wealthy area, just like Palisades. But Malibu is an older town, so there are parts of town where there's normies like us too.
Well, and there's also maybe what you're referring to as cultural significance,
Yeah,
historic and cultural significance to the area, maybe in a way that fresh neighborhoods don't have.
right.
You know, for example, Jasper, quite an expensive place to live, but there are, like you say, normies like us there, and people I've known who've lived there for years and years and years. That's their home,
Yep.
and it's also a place of cultural and historic significance to Canadians, right? So,
Now I don't want to cheapen like if your house burns down, that sucks. But like crap, who played Anakin in Star Wars? Um,
oh yeah, Darth Vader guy.
he had to, well, not Darth Vader. That was a different actor. The one who played Anakin in the
Oh, like
one, two, and three. The actual actor had to
yeah, but
evacuate, and like he has the
he
means
has
to build a
recently
new
played
home.
Darth Vader
Oh, has
in
he?
Disney
Oh,
series. What one was he in? An Obi-Wan, the
well, that
Obi-Wan
really came
series.
full circle for him, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I did not unfortunately, like to me that's the weakest Star Wars, the Obi-Wan and Anakin. And even in the new series of it was the weakest, you know, it's just something about that thing they're trying to do with Obi-Wan and Anakin. It just I don't know, it doesn't really grip me.
Man,
And the effects were the worst of, you know, it's just everything was seemed cheap to me in that one compared
I
to how high the quality of a lot of Star Wars is. Okay, we've spent a lot of time looking at this stuff.
can I just say on the topic of Star Wars, I
Yes.
love the storyline of Star Wars, but I cannot stand Mark Hamill. That's his name, Mark Hamill. I cannot stand his acting when he's like, "I hate you," and like that's just so that in that last film, it's just so cringy to me. It ruins the entire series for me. Is how whiny Anakin is. I just can't deal with it.
Oh yeah, I always thought Anakin was whiny. Yeah, always annoyed me, you know. And then even like when I went to the theater, and it's like I've been waiting 20 years for new Star Wars. You know, I'm an old diehard. I had the toys growing up. It's like I lived and breathed Star Wars a lot of my life, and you know, still in a way do. It's like it's not that I'm crazy Star Wars nerd the way some people are, but it's like I enjoy it. It's like a place of escape, that universe for me, right? And so I go to the theater, and it's like it starts off, and like it seems like it's going to be cool, and there's these like weird alien guys instead of badass Imperials. Like okay, and then Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are on the ship. I'm like, okay, well, maybe let's see when this gets good, and then it just didn't get good. In fact, it just kept getting lamer and lamer and lamer as the movie went on, and it's like then we get to meet Jar Jar Binks. It's like, oh man, then that painful kid that played the young Anakin, just oh god. And like now he's gonna go racing in a tournament. This little child, like, come on, like that was just so stupid. And then you get
But
to the
I just could
second one, and
not. I could
Anakin's just
not
a
get the
whiny
whiny.
bitch.
I
You
just.
know,
It was too much
the
for me.
sand people
It
killed my
ruined.
mother. No, I'm
It
evil.
ruined the whole series for me.
So it's I felt like Disney saved Star Wars for me. I have a different opinion than a lot of the people out there on all the really loud people. 15 centimeters up on Pine Pass. And big freezing rain warning going on in Alberta right now. So that is expected or occurring. Up on the passes, it's been nasty up there for forever.
Well, that's where the storm train's pointing at right now.
Yep, they're getting like the full on 40 centimeters expected by Friday morning, 60-kilometer-hour winds. Seems like a lovely place to live up in the Richardson Mountains, 90 kilometers hour. The blizzard warning. They always have blizzard warnings there. It just never stops. It's blizzard
What's this at the
central.
little Nunavut on the island there? What's that going to be?
Oh, in Coral Harbor here.
Northwest. Oh no, it's Northwest Territories. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're talking way up here. I took the Tuktuk. Or no, it's I don't even know
It's
how
not
to pronounce
Tuktoyak.
that. You look Hatuk. Blizzard up
I'm
there too.
so glad. I'm so glad that you are not confident with this name because I'm so unconfident with the rest of Canadian names. Like
Well, there's certain
Yarmouth.
areas I have strength in, certain areas for sure, but I haven't spent a lot of time up in the Arctic, so a lot of their words are kind of always new to me when I look at them. I find that still with the West Coast, native names in BC, whereas through a lot of Canada, I'm more used to. I've seen like I'm from Ontario. I grew up there. I'm used to Iroquois, Algonquin, Cree, Anishinaabe type words. So when I look at them in a sign, I know how to read them quickly, even if they're kind of newish to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because I have the same experience in Washington and Oregon, right? And BC is like not super different, but it's different enough that like it's almost worse for me. Because like in Washington, this town would be pronounced this way, but in BC, it's subtly different.
You what, Okanogan down there you got? Some weird.
Yeah. Hey, at
It's
least
got to be
at
different.
least it's Okanagan. It's just the spelling, that one.
The never-ending snow squalls of Lake Huron. People are just buried there. Adam Skinner had a photo from his place. It's like they're getting more snow than we are here in Wells, and we're getting now into January, and we still have not enough snow as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm bundled up here, but it's only zero point 0.8 degrees outside. I only have the fire simmering like 10 to 20 centimeters, 5 to 10 centimeters.
Well,
There's
I
just
have
no
fun
need to have the
seven
fire
outside
rocking
yet.
all the time when you don't have that much wood, and I don't feel like getting more. Storm surge along the north side of Nova Scotia there, and probably for Prince Edward Island as well. Yeah, up 2 to 6 p.m. on Friday. Storm surge warnings. Or watch a special weather statement, I should say. 100-kilometer-hour winds up there in Newfoundland. Always. There's always 100-kilometer-hour winds
Some
there. That's what they do.
some breezy boys there.
Yeah, they're all about that. I like checking in on this every day just to see what's going on. British Columbia. A warm air mass over northern BC allowed two communities to set daily maximum temperature records yesterday. Would you look at that? So they went in Fort Nelson up to 4.5 after being into the 30s, touching the 30s, touch and going, into 30 out of 30, 27, 32, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they were in that range where they were hitting
So,
30s often, and then they just, it was like in a matter of 48 hours up to 4.5. So, or less, that
and I
warm up
don't think that
happened.
was a Chinook either. I think that's just the weather pattern.
That's just the pounding from that Pacific flow. Yeah. Here comes Houck finally.
Well, I'm
And same with
getting an
Mackenzie,
east
3.5
wind here
degrees.
today, and I have +7.
Well, that's pretty unusual to get +7 out of an east wind.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
raining.
you know,
Send that rain down here, Hilding.
it's above zero. It's 0.8 Celsius here in Wells, and it's January. January the
And you're
9th,
at
is it?
nearly
Yeah.
4,000 feet.
Yeah. It's very warm. Some snowfall in Quebec. Significant. 25 centimeters at Laurentian Wildlife. It's mountainous there. I guess that's the deal
All
for
she
today.
wrote.
What was I going to look at? I forget now. Dope. Oh, maybe I'm just not looking in the right place, and that's why I'm forgetting. Analysis and modeling. That's right. I want to just look at temperature forecast. Look at
You know
that,
how
man.
on their surface weather analysis, you know how they abbreviate the word analysis? It's ANAL.
Right.
First time I pulled up the Canadian surface analysis, I was like, what in the world?
Hey, Houck's here. Karen Richards is here. And we can turn off the... Well, that's one thing we didn't look at when we were down there was just wind speeds at the moment. So nothing... Oh, that's temperature. No, that's wind speeds. 22. There's some strong winds out there. But yeah, things have calmed down significantly. Okay, right back up to the north here. What do we got going on? Look at that. Big low pressure hitting there, making snow in Churchill.
I bet Joe loves that.
He is a huge fan. Oh, wait, that's Friday. What are we doing? We're way ahead of time. I was going to say that doesn't look right. That was a week from now. Let's look where we're at today. So, some snow coming into BC. That's correct. That looks more correct. Another nor'easter about to go on out there. A lot of lightning, eh? Interesting. That's the second time I've seen a lot of lightning out there this past week. So, snow into Friday morning. Some people seem to think that there's going to be really big snow. I don't know who told them that. I don't think that was my messaging. My
Yeah,
messaging
this
was,
isn't really all that impressive.
no, this is a band of heavy snow. You know, that's probably looks like it would come down pretty hard. That doesn't necessarily mean it will last for very long or pile up very much. You know, what's 5 centimeters isn't that big of a deal to me, right? So there is no weather statement for BC. And whoever's got the idea that we're looking at a big storm right now, no, the facts don't seem to line up with that. New little low forming in Alberta there for you, Brandon. Just in time for the weekend. But again, that's pretty weak stuff, isn't it? How's your week been, everybody?
Wonderful.
We're 3 minutes from Frankie. He wanted Jason Marshall to come on, and I emailed him. He didn't message back, so hope Frankie's okay with that.
You were
Storm
pretty
Rector-
proficient with the sound effects in the radio version last week.
Did you like that?
Yeah, that was nice.
Well, I can't use music unless it's my own. You know, I'm sure if I sat down and talked to Rogers and worked out a system, because some of the stuff that, like a lot of the music that I'm throwing into my videos now is universally available. It's made available by the package I'm paying into for creators, for content creators, right? So, I mean, you have the option. You can, if you're making just a video for yourself, there's a whole other list of options. Or if you don't mind your stuff being demonetized and the singers of whatever song getting the money instead. You get the picture, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's songs that I've learned already that I can bank on aren't going to get flagged by YouTube and are content friendly, and I know that I could use some of that stuff, especially the stuff that's definitely proven, or even the AI music, which, I could probably argue with them enough to get that figured out. I just don't think it matters enough. But sound effects, that's free game. Right?
You really liked the laugh track last week. What's it going to be this week?
Oh, the laugh
Guess
tracks
what?
will always be there.
I found out Jason Marshall's going to be there in 5 minutes. That's what he told me.
Oh, right on then. Good. Okay, then it's settled, Frankie. We're gonna have Jason Marshall. We don't have cookies on the show tonight, everybody.
Oh,
We're gonna get to meet Jason. Okay, then. Here
Jason
comes
Marshall,
Jason.
we don't have cookies as a special guest.
Perfect then. Right on. We'll just wait for him to come on, and then I'll start hitting record. In fact, it's 7 o'clock. We're gonna start.
Jason Marshall's here.
Hey, Frankie. How's it going?
Okay, we're ready to start the show. Jason Marshall, welcome to the Comediorological Report. This week, it's the 9th of January. It's the Comediorological Report. Comedy plus meteorology equals Comediorology. Here at CKUW-FM Radio, CFUR, and CFBX Radio. That's in Prince George, Winnipeg, Kamloops, and Rogers Television across British Columbia. Plus, you can find us on the Spotify and all those streaming platforms. Blah, blah, blah. We are live on Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude YouTube. And we got the whole panel of comediorologists with us as per usual. Frankie's special guest, Jason Marshall, we don't have cookies, has arrived. We're very glad to have him. He's down there in the United States and has been having some significant weather going on. Plus, we got, of course, Frankie McDonald, the star of the show. 177 times we've been doing this now, Frankie. And we got Brandon Houck, the radio weatherman from Brooks, Alberta. We got meteorologist Mark Engles in Surrey, British Columbia, Cowboy Hilding Donaldson in Grassy Plains, and Karen Richards out in Prince George, BC. I'm Joey Only. That's the show. How you doing so far, Frankie McDonald?
Things are great so far. Weather all across the world. In North America, there's a storm hitting for Atlanta, Georgia, with freezing rain and snow in the forecast. They're bringing a lot of snow in Arkansas, where Donna Mantis lives. They're bringing a lot of snow in Arkansas right now. And Dallas had freezing rain and snow. And Atlanta's going to bring a lot of freezing rain. They had severe weather in Louisiana right now. It's been mild out in Nova Scotia. It's lots of rain in Vancouver Island right now. It's really dry in California. The Santa Ana winds triggered a lot of fires. They halted the movie industry and things like this. They halted the talk shows and game shows and things like this. They halted a lot of productions in Los Angeles and Southern California because of the Santa Ana winds. They got really cold air for Texas on Friday and Saturday. Then they got a storm hitting for New York City. They got lots of snow hitting for Virginia and the Carolinas as well, in Georgia. Then they got some really cold weather in Nevada, including Utah, Colorado, Wyoming this weekend coming. Then they got there's a low pressure system in Ontario next week in parts of Ontario and Manitoba as well. It's really cold there in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. They're going to get colder in British Columbia. And so, as well, then they got some. There's a big storm heading for Alaska on Monday as well. Then they got some snow in the forecast in Fairbanks, Alaska. Got rain and snow in Anchorage, Alaska, and surrounding areas. And they got some up in Alaska, and there's a lot of snow in Anchorage, Alaska, and things like this. There's a whole lot of snow in areas of Alaska like Nome, Alaska, Barrow, Alaska. It's really cold there right now. And in the coast of Alaska, near the Arctic Ocean, things like this right now. And down in Florida, then it gets some milder weather, then it got some cool weather, and then it got some really hot weather returning to Miami on Sunday. And Havana, Cuba, Nevada, Cuba. It's down in Mexico. It's really hot over Mexico to get some rain forecast in central Mexico as well. And then we're up around the Central America. Weather all across Central America is lots of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast. Like Colombia, and it's drier there right now in Panama. And the weather all across Central America right now is lots of thunderstorms and rain in southern Mexico, including it's really dry. It's pretty dry in Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Nigeria, and Panama, and Honduras. It's chance of showers and thunderstorms in places like in Panama right now, in Panama Canal. And weather all across South America. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms to forecast in Brazil, including Venezuela, is drier than normal. There's going to be a little bit of showers to forecast. And there's lots of rain and thunderstorms to forecast in Venezuela, Colombia, parts of Ecuador, parts of Peru, parts of Bolivia. There's lots of rain to forecast in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's really dry in northern Chile right now. In Santiago, Chile, it's really hot and dry right now. In southern Chile, there's a lot of rain heading this Sunday coming. In southern Chile, and snow up in the mountains. And there's a lot of rain in southern Chile right now. Then they got some really hot weather heading for Falkland Islands this Sunday coming. They got a heat wave heading for Stanley, Falkland Islands. It's going to bring really hot temperatures in Stanley, Falkland Islands this Sunday coming. And really hot temperatures heading for there. And the weather all across Europe. In England, it's cold there right now. Then it got some rain in England right now, in Wales, and then showers in the forecast in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Ireland. Right now, in France, it got some rain in the forecast in Spain, in northern Spain. In southern Spain, it's drier than normal. There's lots of rain in the forecast in Italy right now, and then they got in the Balkans, like places in Balkans like Bosnia and those Croatia, those places cold and normal temperatures where snow in the forecast. It's really cold in Poland right now. And some snow in the forecast in Poland as well, including Latvia, Estonia, Belarus, and Moscow, and all those places. It's a little bit mild in Turkey right now. Then it gets a really, really cold weather and for Algeria as well. And some rain in the forecast in the north coast of Algeria. And it gets a little bit of snow in the forecast in Algeria as well. And weather all across Japan. It's really cold in Tokyo, Japan, Kyoto, Japan, Osaka, Japan, Sendai, Japan, Sapporo, Japan. It's really cold and snow squalls in the forecast in the west coast and northwest coast of Japan, including Sapporo, Japan. It's really cold in South Korea, North Korea, Vladivostok, Russia, and Siberia is so cold right now. So is Beijing, China, Mongolia, and all those places. It's really warm and dry in Hong Kong and those places in Taiwan. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms forecast in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines right now. It's really dry. Then it got some rain and showers and forecast in Vietnam. It's in Cambodia, including Thailand, Myanmar, and the surrounding areas of Vietnam, Laos, and all those places. Cambodia, Thailand, it's really dry there right now. India's in the dry season as of right now. A little bit of showers and forecast in Sri Lanka right now. And it got lots of rain and forecast. It's really warm out in Nepal. It gets a little bit of warm weather in Tibet right now. It's really dry in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Then they got a cold spot in Afghanistan right now. Then they got a little bit of showers and forecast in Iran, somewhere in Iran. Over in the Middle East right now. Weather there right now it's really dry right now. It's really dry in Dubai, and it's really warm and dry in Dubai, Yemen, Oman, and Qatar, and all those places. It's really dry in Egypt right now. It's Nigeria, Ghana, they're in the dry season right now. It's really dry in Nigeria and Ghana and all those places right now. In Southern Africa, there's a cyclone hitting for northern Madagascar, Africa. This Saturday coming, it's going to bring lots of rain and wind in northern tip of Madagascar. Lots of rain and thunderstorms in Botswana and northern South Africa, including Angola, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique right now. Lario and the Mauritius Islands is lots of rain and thunderstorms forecast as of right now. Down in Australia, Perth, Australia is really dry right now. It's hot and dry right now. Lots of rain and thunderstorms and hail in the forecast in the east coast of Australia, including Queensland and Brisbane, Australia. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in northern Australia right now. I found it. Olivier just saw the sun for the first time of 2025 up at Clocotuck, Nunavut. And lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Papua New Guinea right now, in French Polynesia, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and Fiji Islands during the rainy season right now. Down New Zealand right now. Then it got some warm weather in New Zealand right now. And a little bit of showers and forecast in Auckland and Wellington and all those places of South Island, New Zealand. Right now, it's still 24-hour daylight in Antarctica. It's 24-hour darkness up above the Arctic Circle. And Olivier is starting to get a little bit of daylight already.
Excellent world weather report, Frankie. How long, I'm going to rewind you a little bit back and talk about Ohio. What kind of weather was going on in Ohio this week, and how long have you been on Jason Marshall, We Don't Have Cookies podcast? Frankie?
Jason, I've been on the We Don't Have Cookies podcast for a while. And Jason, how's the weather in Ohio?
It's really cold. And as a matter of fact, you started coming on the podcast in 2015. It's been a long time.
Yeah. That means how was the weather in Ohio?
It's been really snowy, and from what I understand, we're supposed to have more tomorrow.
More snow in Ohio tomorrow. They get lake effect snow and things like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that, to be honest with you.
There's lots of snow going on in Ohio right now. And they got cold air in Ohio as well. Then they got a lot of snow with Mantis in Arkansas and all those places right now.
Yeah, I see there's freezing rain going on through parts of Arkansas right now. Little Rock's got snow happening on it. There's rain south of there by Yazoo City. It's a real mess right now in Arkansas, Frankie.
In Atlanta, Georgia, there's a lot of freezing rain and snow going on right now. That's where the Regular Guys podcast are from.
I'm gonna ask you, Jason, just tell us about your podcast for a minute here. We're gonna come back to you in the show. We're gonna run through a couple reports after, but let's start off, get everyone familiar with the We Don't Have Cookies podcast.
It's a bit of a mix, and it's kind of evolved over the years. At first, it started out as a podcast / radio show, and finally we ended up just paring it down to a podcast. And I usually interview comedians, but a lot of times it's just lack of a better word, just kind of strange people. Like I had a lady, she runs a business called I can't remember his name, but her name's Mary Weichbach, and she sells things that she makes out of moose poop. And it's very bizarre, and those are the kinds of people I try to find and have conversations with, just to see how their mind works.
That is totally excellent.
And
That's,
then Jason,
you'll
you
fit
got
right
trees
in here.
planted in the backyard.
What's that?
You got trees planted.
Yeah, back in 2018, I planted 130 trees or something like that. So they're everywhere, and Frankie has his own tree. It's a flat peach tree out in the backyard. I can see it from my living room window.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. We got a couple questions for Frankie before we move on tonight too. Karen Richards, meteorologist Karen Richards, what do you got?
Okay, Frankie. Which of the Frankie bobbleheads that have been made so far is your
Then they got
favorite?
the new Frankie Doll bobbleheads coming out in July 2025. A blue and red t-shirt edition Frankie Doll bobbleheads. It's going to manufacture it. It's going to be released in July 2025. Jason, you'll be getting them.
That's right. Matter of fact, I got a Frankie bobblehead right there.
You got the
Right on my
black
desk.
one.
Yeah.
Score. I got the green one up there, and it's not the black one. You can see
Hey,
it actually
Karen,
on top of
this
the
is
skull.
Jason. That
Yeah.
guy that runs We Don't Have Cookies podcast.
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Meteorologist Mark, you got a question for Frankie?
Frankie, good evening. What is your favorite movie, Frankie?
2012.
How do you feel about Star Wars?
I saw all of them. I saw Star Wars Episode 1 and Episode 9.
Do you like them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like them too. All right, we're going to come back with our feature guest of the night, Jason Marshall. We Don't Have Cookies podcast here in a few minutes' time, but we got to run through a couple of the regulars here first.
The Brandon Houck Report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Houck Report.
Brought to you by
Smoking good barbecue.
Brandon Houck out there, Brooks, Alberta. How you doing so far, buddy?
Oh, wonderful. Just had, pork roast. So that was pretty much my smoking good barbecue tonight. That's right. That's right. And Yes, it's been a interesting week of weather. That's for sure. We've been cold. We've had a little snow here and there, and then yesterday we had a little rain, and then everybody's sliding around, and then the sun came out in the afternoon, which is typical kind of Alberta kind of conditions there. Now, I gotta have to say that again. My voice kind of cracked there, so I'll do that one more time. Smoking good barbecue. There we go. Now, here we are. So we've got, as I said, we had yesterday started off with some rain in the area, and then eventually the sun came out in the afternoon. Now, I do weather all day on the radio, sort of, but I got caught yesterday. Yes, I did. As I was walking around, walking out in the open country, and I had weather recorded for the day. And sometimes people think I'm in the radio station all day long because sometimes I am, but not really. But somebody pulled up and said, "Brandon, what are you doing out here?" And I said, "Oh, hey." And he's like, "I was just hearing you on the radio. You were just on the radio 1 second ago, just telling everybody the sun was coming out this afternoon. Look, why would you look at there? That's the sun right there." And I'm like, yeah. So that was kind of weird, but anyways, he pulled off, and he got to probably more weird to him as he heard me talking on the radio, and then he pulled up, and there I was outside his door, out in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, what are the chances of that? Now, talking about weather story and everything else that's going on as we get into the weekend here, the weather, the forecast for the weekend, we are looking at, we've got some freezing rain going on across the northern part of the province, pushing through the high level areas.
These at 66 kilometers an hour. Tonight, a few clouds, low down to 12. Then, as we go on into tomorrow, we will be dealing with a potential for a mainly sunny skies.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms popping up late in the afternoon and on into the evening hours. Our high tomorrow.
Stealing Wi-Fi. So yeah,
stealing Wi-Fi, Frankie.
That's what I was doing, and the Wi-Fi didn't work actually too. So I was
okay. Sorry, I cut you off, but
okay.
That's classic Brandon clip.
Speaking of stealing Wi-Fi, I'm going to steal freezing rain again tomorrow. Well, not really. Freezing rain happening to the north, staying well to the north of us again tonight. But as we move into tomorrow, we've got this system moving across Saskatchewan that's going to bring some snow for them, especially for the start of the weekend. And for us, we'll see kind of we're going to be seeing our temperatures bump back up. So we were on the cool side today. We bump back up again tomorrow, about 4 degrees for daytime highs. So probably we'll end up with a bit of a rain-snow mix tomorrow. It will be fairly quick, fairly brief, and then it dissipates afterwards. And then we'll see a pocket of snow kind of linger through the weekend there. So probably end up around 5 centimeters of snow. May get 15 to 25 centimeters in the Cypress Hills for the weekend there. So that's the system we'll watch very closely. Other weather stories I'll follow fairly closely here across Canada. We've still got that storm we were talking about last weekend over Newfoundland. It's still there. It hasn't moved at all for a week. So upper level low, bringing unsettled conditions across the East Coast. More snow showers, blustery winds, 70K winds. Yeah. And then still some snow moving across Hudson Bay. They've had a couple of blizzards going on across the Arviat Baker Lake area for the last few days there. And then the system moving into BC as well. Not too dramatic, but definitely something to keep a fairly close eye on. Now, moment you've been waiting for. I haven't had any wild stories for the last few weeks since I was on holidays. But now that I'm back on radio this week, well, I've done some research and found some bizarre things that have happened. First off, I'm going to the country of Zambia here, where a police officer was arrested. Now, how did the police officer get arrested here? Well, he had a little too many eggnogs on New Year's Eve there, and he had too many eggnogs, had a little too much fun, and next thing you know, he goes into the prison there in Zambia, and he says, "Hey guys, would you like to go celebrate New Year's Eve?" He told all the prisoners. Sure, everybody said. So he just opened the gates and said, "All right, guys, have fun. See you later." well, the prisoners they didn't come back. So Buddy here, yeah, he got himself in trouble. Probably not going to be a police officer for any longer. And he let all the prisoners out. And yeah, now he's a prisoner himself. So there you go. That's how a police officer became a prisoner at his own police station.
That never happened to me when I was in jail.
It did, eh?
Never.
Never. Well, anyways, and then this bizarre story out of England here, where they have this banana Beeston, UK. Somebody has a plate of peeled bananas or something like that. So they put this plate on the sidewalk, and well, yeah, it's been showing up every month, and it's a bit of a mystery here. Nobody knows who's doing it, where it's coming from, why they're doing this, but they have plate full of peeled bananas just randomly on the street, and it's a mystery that hasn't been solved there yet, I guess. And
wow, that's bananas.
That is bananas, BANAS. There you go. And then I heard that song today too, and I was listening to my new headset there, and we're lucky nobody was around because I was saying that word out loud out in the wild, This is bananas. Okay. And then also finally, I guess people around the world actually carry a spare pair of underwear with them wherever they go. So yeah, just in case, never know when you need the spare pair of underpants.
I wish we had time on the show tonight to really talk about this. Maybe in the after show on the live stream still, we'll get to that. The Brandon Houck report. This is the Meteorological Report, and our featured guest tonight is Jason Marshall. We don't have cookies. We'll be with him right after we talk to meteorologist Mark Engles, who I know wants to go to bed, and he's got all the details on everything going on, California wildfires, you name it, meteorologist Mark.
That's where Trevor Gardner, the host of Trevor's Happy Hour, lives, Southern California.
It is.
Oh, you're not going to cue up my intro? You're going to save it for the after show or the after edits?
I just wasn't ready.
He's caught unaware. All right,
I wasn't ready because I had to go find the Brandon clip, and that took me so long that...
No, it's okay. Here we go.
Just got the fat check for pushing that.
My name Mark Engles.
Pushing that agenda. It says here, HARP, climate change, whatever, in my bank account.
Meteorologist Mark.
Hello, good evening. I'll start off in Ohio, actually, because Jason's there. And even though I live in British Columbia, I actually work forecasting for energy in what's called PJM. It's an energy market where you trade power like a commodity from Chicago to the mid-Atlantic. And this whole week has been really difficult forecasting energy there because snow makes people's behavior different. And so it's very difficult to predict what people are going to do, especially with like school being out and stuff like that. And also it's my first season doing this kind of forecasting. So I don't really know what to expect, but yeah, there's going to be some snow, and like it's going to be freezing rain in the line from like Arkansas, Mississippi over towards Atlanta, like Frankie said. In the north of that, it's going to be snow. Tennessee is getting a lot of snow. Parts of Ohio are going to get a lot of snow. Well, I mean, not a lot of snow, but a few inches. Yeah, it's going to make for a difficult Friday for me. But then I'm flying to New Orleans, where I will go to the weather conference with all the weather nerds. Okay, so we've had a lot of weather going on this week. Let's start off in Southern California, where, of course, there's a big Santa Ana wildfire event. And we talked about this last week on the show, that this was a possibility. So it's really incredible how well the weather models performed predicting this in advance. Because we really, meteorologists were starting to see this like 10 days out. And so what happens with Santa Ana is you get high pressure inland because it's cold. Cold air is denser than warm air. We were talking about this in the pre-show, like cities like Idaho Falls and Salt Lake City and Reno are all above 4,000 feet. And it's January and it's cold. Whereas cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, and even coming up Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver, are warmer because, first of all, they're at sea level, and second of all, they are moderated by the Pacific Ocean. And so, warm air, cool air being denser than warm air, the air flows to fill kind of like the void that is there since it's lower pressure on the coast. Um, and so as it descends those mountains, because Los Angeles is surrounded by mountains on the north and east side, as it descends the mountains there, it warms up and it is very dry because there's not very much moisture in the inland west in the US. And it gets very windy and dry conditions, strong wind, and like, yeah, those mountains have trees, but it's kind of like a desert forest. It doesn't rain much in Southern California in general, and this is their wet season, but Pasadena hasn't had any rain since May. So it's very dry. And Dean pointed out in the live chat that reminded me last year they got a ton of rain. So they've got a lot of understory that's dead, and it descended into the mountains. This actually happens pretty frequently. Like sometimes they can get up to 20 Santa Ana events in a year. This is normal, but what wasn't normal was they also had support from the upper levels. The jet stream was oriented in a way that it aligned with the surface Santa Ana winds. And so if you can imagine like a weir in an irrigation canal, when the water goes over the weir, sorry for the radio listeners, I'm talking with my hands here, but when the water goes over the weir, if you watch that, it accelerates rapidly, and then it's very turbulent at the base of the weir. Well, that's what happens with the wind when it goes over the mountains, and then it's amplified by the jet stream. And so we're talking that there were wind speeds in excess of 150 kilometers an hour, not on the mountain like it was on the mountaintops, but we also saw isolated gusts approaching 150 kilometers an hour in cities like Pasadena, not on the edge of cities, in cities like Pasadena. Burbank, California recorded a wind gust, I think around 120 kilometers an hour. That's just off the top of my head. I don't have it up here, but very, very big deal. And then when you get a wildfire start in the dry forest there, like if the wind is going over 100 kilometers an hour, you have to have 10 fire trucks there before the wildfire starts. Otherwise, it's just going to get out of hand too quickly. And these wildfires started in mountainous regions. It's not like there's roads to every square inch of the Angeles National Forest. And so these wildfires would move toward these communities, and then get caught in get caught in the suburban interface there. And so like the fire in Pasadena is over 10,000 acres, which is somewhere around like 4,500 hectares or whatever. And it is like 70% having burned in neighborhoods, and it got well away from the mountains. And so this is just a very dynamic situation. They're going to have another Santa Ana event, I think this weekend, another one like Monday or so. These are not going to have amplification from the jet stream, but those wildfires that are still existing and not contained are going to, if they're not contained by then, they're going to be problems again. This is just a very dynamic situation, and that's life living in the mountains in Southern California. And then La Nina, the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center,
it's finally
which is a
here.
mouthful. It's finally here. We actually talked about this a little bit over the past couple of weeks too, where the sea surface temperatures near the Pacific Ocean, or near the equator in the Pacific Ocean, have finally like dipped down to what we would call La Nina conditions. La Nina means that near the equator, in a specific area between 120 and 170 degrees west, the sea surface temperatures are below average. We thought that this was going to happen earlier in the fall, and it didn't. We speculated on the show, well, more like hypothesized on the show, that very warm ocean temperatures globally were probably impeding that. And in the article that NOAA wrote that I saw today, NOAA, the agency, not NOAA, a person, the article that NOAA wrote today they hypothesized the same thing. So it's nice to know that we're not out here on an island spouting off crap that we don't know about. Of course, we don't know for sure yet. That would take like academic research, and that takes time, and this is still an ongoing, weather event.
But it's very reasonable. It's very reasonable position.
Right. It's a reasonable hypothesis. This La Nina event is very weak and is looking like it's going to be pretty short-lived. We may be back in ENSO neutral conditions, which means near average, as early as April. So this is a very weak one, and that does not bode well for mountain snow here in Western Canada. We talked about, it's rained a lot. In Vancouver, it's rained a lot down here. Vancouver Island, up until about a week and a half ago, it was just storm after storm after storm, which I loved. That's what I moved here for. But yeah, the snow levels are pretty high. I can look at the North Shore Mountains here from my office in Surrey, and there's snow on the top of them, but it doesn't get very far down. So, hopefully as La Nina kicks in, since it's weak, this isn't a guarantee, but hopefully we'll see some more snowpack build up throughout BC and Alberta and up in the Arctic too, before we get our own wildfire season once again. And, we'll see how it goes, but we're already almost we're almost into mid-January, and, it kind of looks like November out there.
I'll be honest, I started to have the thought creep into my head for a couple times recently that maybe we're actually looking at a fire season again next year, and I'll be quite busy.
So I do want to say before I go, don't forget to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Castbox. And that is my transition to Ask Jason, where we find his podcast.
Hey, that was a good one, man. I like that. It's available on all those platforms as well. For some reason, we're having a problem with the feed updating. I need to look into that. It's a problem I should have taken care of a while ago.
Well, you know what that problem is? It's that you don't have cookies.
That's right. That is part of it.
Yeah, you update your cookies on your computer.
Yeah, clear your cache while you're at it.
That's a good idea.
We will get to
BC
weather.
Good night, guys.
Good night,
Have a
Mark.
good night.
I was going to say we will get to BC weather with Karen and Hilding in a little bit. Thank you very much for the great report tonight, Mark. And I want to open the floor to everybody who might want to ask questions of Jason. We Don't Have Cookies podcast. Jason Marshall, tell us about a couple of your more eccentric guests you've had over the years.
The first one comes to mind. Odilon Azare, that was his name. He had to have legally changed it. I don't even know what it stands for. He got the Guinness Book of World Records for building the tallest hat. And he did it by using the telephone pole behind his house to build a hat around. And then he had to, I forget what it was. He had to wear the hat and make it a certain distance, like so many steps or feet or whatever, and to get the record. And he failed a few times, but he finally got it. That was a pretty interesting one. Let's see. There was another guy named Henrique Cuto. He had this handlebar mustache, and he wore a top hat and like a Hawaiian-esque shirt and these striped like pajama pants that were like purple and orange and yellow. And that was interesting. He put a lot of crazy stuff on for somebody who came to do an audio podcast at the time. So I thought that was interesting. He was a horror movie director, and he actually did a music video for one of my previous guests, and that's how I got to know him. And the last person I'll tell you about was a guy named Father Time, because he just popped in my head when I was talking about people dressing up. When I was doing the radio show, he would come to the radio show or podcast, and he would be dressed in a 3-piece suit with a very nice hat, gold chains everywhere, and rings on his fingers. And I got to respect that, even though I just kind of laughed at it a little bit. Because when I first did a radio show, I went in and I dressed as nice as I could, just they say dress for the job you want or whatever.
You
dress
can always
to
tell a new
impress.
radio DJ, eh?
Yeah. So I thought, oh man, I dig that. So, because that's how I got my job on the radio. I was just a guest. I came in, I looked presentable, I was decently funny, and I thought, hey man, you never know. So it always works out if you dress nicely sometimes.
Yeah, it's something I'm not good at. I'm total pure hillbilly up here. Total pure hillbilly. I know what you're talking about though, because before the show, about 2 minutes before I went live and before everyone started showing up there at the live stream beforehand, I said, "Oh my goodness!" and I grabbed my deodorant and put it on. And then as I was doing that, I was like, "It's not like the people can smell me."
Yeah,
but I can smell myself. That's be distracting a little bit, right?
I know the feeling. I got a bottle of cologne right there. I do the same thing. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's like, oh, I can't go on YouTube smelling.
But eventually, when you're in radio long enough, you realize what got a face for radio means, and you say, well, you know what? No one cares what I look like, and then you can tell someone who's been a radio DJ for a while. They start looking. They got hair like Brandon. They wear a toque all the time like I do or whatever. I don't have to have the headset on like I used to when I did radio, so this is great. I can wear a toque. That's sweet. Who's got some questions for Jason, by the way, in the podcast? Hilding, you've been quiet all night, so I'm sure you got something scheming on there.
Oh,
and
just real quick. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but just the happiness on Frankie's face made all this worth it. Frankie's always trying to get me on all kinds of podcasts, and it was nice to actually do one that he wanted me to do. And like I said, just seeing him so happy, man, that's awesome.
He was very emphatic last week. He says, Jason Marshall is very important to me. And he stopped me several times to emphasize, it's like Frankie cuts in to try to make sure that you understand what's important to him. And I read that. And so I messaged you, but I didn't hear back. I was like, well, but I didn't do a very good job at being a messenger either. Fair enough. I'm just a hillbilly, yet I managed to do all these things, and I'm not that good at it. The phone rings all the time. I don't answer it. I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy. I'm way more successful than I'm capable of being already, I think, in the world. So you had Frankie on since 2015. That surprised me hearing that. Tell us about some Frankie moments.
There was this is one of my favorites. There was one where I was late to the show, and while I was on the air, I said something. I introed Frankie, and he was like, "Jason Marshall, you were late. Apologize right now." And I thought that was amazing. So of course I apologized immediately. Let's see. There's got to be some. Oh, there was one where the lady I was talking about, Frankie, was on that show, and I remembered while others were talking. Her business is called Turdy Works, TIRDY Works, and
her moose poo business.
Yeah, and I was talking to Frankie, and she was in the background, and I guess she got bored and just lit up a joint. And I thought, well, okay, that was that was a little interesting. I wasn't expecting that.
That was in July 2023.
That's right. Frankie knows it all, man. I love it.
Well, up here in British Columbia, that's extremely normal behavior. That's it's legal, and you can go to a store and just get it. It's great. Nice. I love it. It's made giving up the life of being an alcoholic so much easier once that kind of stuff changed.
And I found out old Trey Campbell's doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, and he's super funny, isn't he, Frankie?
Trey Campbell's doing stand-up comedy every Thursday nights.
Some of my favorite Frankie moments are here on the podcast. When we get him laughing, he's outside and he's at A&W using their Wi-Fi, and we start accusing him like, "Are you stealing Wi-Fi, Frankie?" And he starts laughing so hard, and he says, "I'm not stealing Wi-Fi at all, whatsoever." And that's always great. Always great gimmicks. Always great gimmicks. Yeah, you know how we started the show with Frankie and I just messaged him and said, "Hey, we should make a weather podcast of weirdos, Canadian weather weirdos." And he said, "Great idea. Sunday night, 7 p.m. That's okay. It was like, it was on.
Nice. Speaking of that, real quick, another great Frankie memory. I had a lady on. She was from Last Comic Standing and some show that was on Fox. I forget the name of it, but she's a comedian named Andy Erickson. Really funny, good person. And me and her are talking. Frankie comes on to do the show, and I never had this happen before, but Frankie gave out the link to the show, and I didn't know it. And while I'm talking to Andy, Frankie shows up in the background. I bring Frankie on, and the next thing you know, there's like 6 other people. And I had no clue what was going on because they were all names I didn't know. And then I realized, like, oh, Frankie gave the link to all these other people. We just got like bombed by so many people. It was fantastic. Because what was funny was Andy just got done saying that one of the hardest parts about doing my show is she never knows what I'm going to ask because I ask a lot of weird questions. And then that happened with Frankie. And I told Andy that is one of the best parts of doing the show because I don't even know what's going to happen half the time. And Frankie proved that day, that's for sure.
I don't think one of my strengths in life in general is asking questions. And people be like, you don't ask questions. I'm like, well, people tell you what they want you to know. And then you be a radio host for years and you're like, okay, I got to ask questions today. I never did get better at it, did I? I don't know. It's just keep it to the basics and, basically open the door and let people talk, I find often. And they'll dig their own graves or sink or swim or whatever, right?
That's right.
Then you get the Frankie videos.
We do have the Frankie videos. How about Hilding and Karen? I'm going to ask you quickly about what's going on in Grassy Plains and what's going on in Prince George as I queue up Frankie's videos for the week. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll go first because I thought Hildy was going to say it, but I guess it's going to be me.
Yeah, you go for it.
Give her. Karen Richards.
Oh, I feel like I'm in Vancouver. Actually, right now it's today is +2, raining. It rained like monsoon rains here. The only snow that I really have left is everything that we shoveled into a pile. That's it. It's weird. It's weird weather.
And January.
Yeah, and it's warm. Like Joey, I think you mentioned this morning, like you were above 0. I was +3 this morning.
Well, and I was saying before the show how Fort Nelson went from, hitting into -30 consistently for, I don't know how many, like a week or more, and up to +4.5 in a matter of 24 to 48 hours. And Mayo, Yukon went from 49 to what was their high, Brandon? When I saw -1, but they might have even got higher than that. But that's a 50-degree temperature swing in a day. Unbelievable.
It's crazy. Unbelievable.
50 degrees Celsius temperature swing. Unbelievable.
And without a Chinook.
Yeah, just straight pounding from it's a Chinook of a sort, I guess. So the storms are hitting into the Alaska Panhandle, which means we're getting the comma up the coast, but we're just getting this sort of a nice flow of Pacific warm Hawaiian air into BC right now. How are things in the farm, Hilding?
Here come the cows. Yep, that's what we did today. We went out there yesterday and we decided, well, hey, it's nice and warm and there's no ice on the road. Nobody's going to slide into them. We'll take advantage of it and move all the cows across the road. So we brought the cows across the road so they're closer to the farm so we can feed them for the rest of the winter. That worked out real good. Today we separated the last batch of calves, which isn't usually something you do in January. And yeah, we've got 12 more calves that need to go to auction sometime next week. So anyway, yeah, the cows are really enjoying the warm weather. It makes it a lot easier for us right now. So, but it's crazy.
Calves will never be delicate and friendly, even though
It's late this time. Continue, Hilding.
Yeah, we have warm enough today that like I had to take my snowplow out and plow the piles of slush that slid off of the snowbanks off of the driveway again before they freeze solid. Like, you don't usually think of doing that kind of stuff in the wintertime. It's crazy warm.
Well, here in Wells at 3,135 feet above sea level, and, we've had winters that I've been here where we've had 40 feet of measurable precipitation fall in the mountains here. And when I'm looking outside, I'm like, my roof is, I haven't had to shovel a roof this year. I've gone to the season. I went and I fell trees for everybody else. And then I came to get my own firewood. I was like, well, I'll get it eventually. And then I just got lazy. And, back in November, I was like, well, I barely got enough wood here. I'll have to go soon. I guess I can wait. And it's January, and I'm still stretching the rounders I have out here. So I've never had a winter like this here. And when it's not been with here in Wells any like exceedingly warm temperatures, like it's been for other places, but still, or even for us, we're not getting that pounding snow. Frankie, are you ready for the Frankie videos of the week?
Yes, I'm ready.
Frankie's ready for the Frankie videos of the week. Here we go. Get myself set up here.
Volume.
Arg. That's when I switch between different interfaces. Okay, this time for sure. Thank you, Frankie. So.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Major snowstorm is headed towards Dallas, Texas on Thursday, January 9, 2025. It's going to bring up to 6 to 12 inches of snow or more. It's going to bring really cold temperatures after a snowstorm in Dallas, Texas. It's going to bring really dangerous driving conditions and really treacherous driving conditions. Roads will be snow covered. The streets, roads, highways, and interstate highways will be snow covered. There'll be snow drifts, blowing snow, drifts of snow. It's also going to hit Fort Worth, Texas, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be really, really strong. It's going to cause blowing, drifting snow. There'll be big snow drifts in Dallas, Texas, and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring a lot of snow in Dallas and the surrounding areas as well. People in Dallas, Texas, be prepared. If you're with the boots ready, with your jackets ready, hats and gloves, scarf and ski pants is ready. Order your pizzas and order your Chinese food. Buy case of Pepsi, buy case of Coke. Do your grocery shopping. Don't wait till the last minute. Do it right now. Make sure your smartphone, cell phone, laptops, tablet charge. Every 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE ready as well. With your drive car, take your drive a car. Slow down so you don't get in car accidents when you go for a walk. Be very careful walking so you don't slip and fall. Make sure your furnaces and heat pumps ready. Turn on your furnaces and heat pumps to keep those warm. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea, keep you warm. Hey, for extra blankets ready to keep you warm as well. Make sure your shovel, snow scoop, snow blower, snow plow, salt trucks ready as well. Before everybody living in Dallas, Texas, be prepared for a major snowstorm on Thursday, January 9, 2025. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a major snowstorm. Stay warm and be safe. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Major winter storms headed towards Arkansas on Friday, January 10th, 2025. It's going to bring 6 to 12 inches of snow more, especially in Little Rock, Arkansas, surrounding areas, including Memphis, Tennessee. And it's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be pretty strong. It's going to cause blowing, drifting snow, reduce visibility, dangerous, treacherous driving conditions. It's going to bring a lot of snow. The winds are going to be pretty strong, so that's going to cause snow drifts in streets, roads, highways, and interstate highways. Will be snow covered. There'll be really dangerous driving conditions, especially on roundabouts. As well, it's going to bring a lot of snow in the state of Arkansas, especially in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be pretty strong. That's going to cause blowing, drifting snow, reduce visibility, dangerous, and treacherous driving conditions as well. People in Arkansas, be prepared. If you're with the boots ready, with the jackets ready, hats, gloves, scarf, and ski pants is ready. Order your pizzas and order your Chinese food. Buy case of Pepsi, buy case of Coke. Do your grocery shopping. Don't wait till the last minute. Do it right now. Make sure your smartphone, cell phones, laptops, tablet charge. Every 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE ready as well. When you drive a car, take your time to drive a car. Slow down so you don't get in car accidents. When you go for a walk, be very careful walking so you don't slip and fall. Make sure your furnaces and heat pumps ready. Turn on your furnaces and heat pumps to keep those warm. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea, keep warm. And for extra blankets ready to keep you to keep you warm. So make sure your shovel, snow scoop, snow blowers, snow plow, salt trucks ready as well. If everybody living in Arkansas, be prepared for a major winter storm on Friday, January 10, 2025. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a major winter storm. Stay warm and be safe. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station, live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Wildfires are going on in Southern California right now. It's near Los Angeles area. It's going to bring a lot of smoke going all the way down to Long Beach, California. It's going to cause a lot of smoke since the fire is going to be really bad in Los Angeles and outside of Los Angeles and around the surrounding areas. I urge everyone to don't go near the fires. Stay away from the fires. Have your firemen ready. Have your hose ready to put the fire out. Since the fire is going to be really, really bad, since the Santa Ana winds going on in California, winds are really strong in Southern California. I urge everyone to be extra prepared. Don't go near the fires. Stay away from the fires. If the fire gets really, really close, evacuate the area immediately. Since the fire is going to be really bad in Southern California, especially in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. A lot of smoke will be coming from the fires as well. Be extra prepared. Have your masks ready because the smoke from the wildfires, because of Santa Ana winds in Southern California. Since don't go near the fires, smoke is really dangerous as well. If you have anybody live in Southern California, be prepared and mentally prepared for wildfires. Be safe. Don't get caught in the fires. Be safe. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station, live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Major winter storm is headed towards Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, January 10th, 2025. It's going to bring a lot of freezing rain, ice pellets, and a lot of snow that could cause extremely dangerous driving conditions, especially on roundabouts and streets, roads, highways, and interstate highways. There'll be snow and ice covered Atlanta, Georgia, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring a lot of snow. The winds are going to be really strong. It's going to cause blown, drift, and snow, reduce visibility, dangerous and treacherous driving conditions. Put the salt on the road and have your salt trucks ready as well, since roads are going to be extremely dangerous, especially on roundabouts in Atlanta and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring a lot of snow and ice in Atlanta and the surrounding areas as well. People in Atlanta, Georgia, be prepared. Have your winter boots, winter jackets, hats, and gloves, scarves, and ski pants ready. Order your pizzas and order your Chinese food. Buy cases of Pepsi, buy cases of Coke. Do your grocery shopping. Don't wait till the last minute. Do it right now. Make sure if your smartphone, cell phones, laptops, tablets charge. Have your 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE or rent rates. Well, with a drive car, take your time, drive a car, slow down, so you don't get in car accidents. When you go for a walk, be very careful walking so you don't slip and fall. Make sure your furnaces and heat pumps ready. Turn on your furnaces and heat pumps to keep those warm. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea to keep warm. Have your extra blanket ready to keep warm. So make sure your shovel, snow scoop, snow blowers, snow plows, and salt trucks ready. So if everybody lives in Atlanta, Georgia, be prepared for a major winter storm on Friday, January 10th, 2025. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a major winter storm. Stay warm and drive safe. I got a bonus video. It's chance of thunderstorms to hit Indonesia. I just sent to the group chat.
Okay, I'll see if I can find that, Frankie. But we are running out of time now.
This is a bonus video.
We are running out of time today on the show.
Let's just do one more video. Indonesia. Bonus.
But I got things I want to do, Frankie, and I'm running out of time.
I just do it Indonesia because Base Guy's best friend Julie lives there.
Okay, well, I'm putting it on. What's going on here? It's just you sitting there.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station, live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Chance of thunderstorms head towards Indonesia on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. It's going to bring a lot of rain, on and off, a lot of rain, including Bali, Indonesia, Jakarta, Indonesia, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta. That's going to cause a lot of mudslides and landslides in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring so much rain that could cause mudslides and landslides. It'll be chain lightning, very loud thunder. It's going to last for the next 4 days. In Jakarta, Indonesia, starting on January 7th, 2025. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain. It's going to bring lots of chain lightning, really loud thunder in Jakarta, Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia. It may affect parts of Malaysia and Papua New Guinea as well. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Indonesia. I urge everyone to be mentally prepared. Make sure you have your rain gear, rubber boots, and raincoats when you go for a walk. Don't walk to the poles. Avoid the poles when you go for a walk. Since there's going to be a lot of rain in Jakarta, Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia, and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring so much rain in Indonesia with heavy downpours in Indonesia, including Jakarta, Indonesia, and the surrounding areas as well. If you have anybody living in Indonesia, be prepared for heavy rain with thunderstorms on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. It's going to last for the next few days. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a chance of thunderstorms. Stay dry and be safe.
For our fans in Indonesia, we're huge in Indonesia, you know, and we are. Millions of people watching the Comediological Report there in Indonesia. Love yous all. Love yous all. Okay, we are coming to near the end of the show, everybody.
That means that Jason Marshall will be the first one to have a social media.
He will. I got something I do want to show because, you know, I only get, you know, I got this TV show here, but I rarely ever put anything of my own on the TV show. And sometimes I want to just show off. So I've been making this video right now. Okay, let me start again. So back, people who might know me know that I film at times when we're working wildfires, right? So I got a new movie I've made. It's a compilation of our time at the Cutoff Creek Fire. So I'm going to show you some of the footage here while we talk on mute, because you can always go to Joey on the Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel. But check. Oops. But still, I just wanted to throw some of the footage on the background so that the TV viewers out there can see some of the images that are showing up on the video Cutoff Creek. You can find that Joey on the Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel. So throw that in the background while we take the show out. And yeah, let's do that. Jason Marshall, let's get your social medias here. This is a crucial part of the show.
Well, I am We Don't Have Cookies on Facebook and Instagram, and Jason Marshall 2 on Twitter.
Jason Marshall, I can't say enough how glad I am that you showed up. I didn't think we were gonna see you, and I'm not good at reaching out to people and making stuff happen, right? It's not really my thing.
Jason Marshall got his own website. We Don't Have Cookies website.
That's right. It hasn't been updated in a while because the people that I was using for the service took some things away, so I'm kind of scared if I update it, the whole site's going to break. But yeah, it's up there, and if anybody wants to contact me, you can contact me at jason@wedon'thavecookies.com. That's my email.
There you go. You're listening to the Comediological Report here on C4 88.7 FM in Prince George, CKUW 95.9 in Winnipeg, and CFBX 92.5 in Kamloops Plus on Rogers Television all across British Columbia, Frankie.
If you want to follow me on social media, my thread is at Frankie McD984, and my blue sky is at Frankie McD. My ex formerly Twitter is at Frankie McD. My link tree is Frankie McDonald. My Facebook is Frankie McDonald. My Instagram is Frankie McD984. My TikTok is FrankDown984. My Clapper is FrankDown984. My Twitch is FrankDown984. My Snapchat is Frankie MCDON. My YouTube channel stocks and wolves. My LinkedIn is Frankie McDonald. Best luck down Frankie McDonald. You're listening to We Don't Have Cookies podcast every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
That's right. I caught that.
Forest fire season will return in British Columbia in July.
It will return. I think I'm going to be busy next year, Frankie. Jason, you got anyone cool lined up on the show for the next couple weeks there for We Don't Have Cookies?
I'm going to have comedian Jesse Towler on. He's a pretty funny guy. He's a regular. One other thing I did want to mention. We had the world's foremost flat earth guy on the podcast. We were kind of going back and forth. I asked Frankie if he thought the earth was flat, and he said, absolutely not. And that was the perfect answer. And the flat earth guy said that he would expect nothing less. So went uncontested.
Good on you, because that's like the complete opposite of my mentality. I'm like, how to shut these people down. But really what I should do is try to get one of them on the show so that we can humiliate them.
There you go. Mark Sargent's a great guest if you can find him. He'd be up for it.
That's way more fun than, but you know, sometimes it's just like, why are we giving these people space to talk? I don't know, but then again, you know, it would be so much fun to really just pick their brains apart, really pick their brains apart.
Yeah.
Those are some good guests. We've had some notables on the show over the years, yeah, you know, but like I say, I have so many connections in the world. Like, it's crazy how many connections I have in Canada. And the fact that it doesn't cross my mind on Monday, oh, I should get a guest for the show this week. Like, you know, I'm bad at it, which is why we had this sort of like, just sort of group of friends that sort of show up on the show sometimes. And it's like, it really just helps. Check out some of that fire behavior there, man. We saw some pretty crazy stuff at Cutoff Creek. So what I've done is I made 3 videos, because we did 3 tours, 3 14-day tours of the Cutoff Creek Fire. So video 1 is up. Video 2 is now up. Video 3 is available for the members on my channel. And it will be up next week, Wednesday. And that will conclude. And then I'm going to put the 3 together into one cohesive movie so that you can really get the full experience of, you know, what it's like to be a wildland firefighter in British Columbia once again. So check that out, Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. And I think that's bringing us now to pretty much an hour in the show. And if I have extra time to make up, that's fine, because I do have Mike McGregor videos that I'd like to throw in, I think. So I think that's the show, Frankie. But the live stream will continue. But that's the show.
That's the show.
That's the show. The show for the TV people and for the radio and for everybody. That's the show, Brandon Houck.
Oh, yeah. That'll do it.
And we have to make sure we have our pizza delivered.
All right, that's the show. Well, the live stream continues. So that's the show.
And Jason Marshall's going to be on Rogers TV in Vancouver Island.
You will now be on TV in Canada. Small time. Not just Vancouver Island, Frankie. We're broadcasting in northern BC now, too. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, they got us on in Prince George, I think Quesnel, Fort St. John, places like that. So across northern BC, now not just over. So we started with just 2 regions, 2 stations in Vancouver Island, and then it became across Vancouver Island. That's different than the radio show history, but yeah, you get the idea, right? And
I'm pretty sure it's like Prince George North for the Rogers broadcast.
Right, so maybe not in Quesnel. I mean, I don't have cable, so like
I'm not sure. I don't have Rogers.
And now that we are no longer recording for TV, we can swear, and we don't have to worry about Canadian rules of telecommunication. And we can also look at...
the next step is editing.
The next step will be the editing of that hour-long show. But look at some of this mess right now, Frankie.
That's where Donna Mantis lives.
Isn't that wild looking?
This is where Donna Mantis lives.
You got your bands of snow now sitting right on Little Rock, and that's heavy snow, because we know that radar doesn't tend to pick snow up very well. So if it's picking it up that well, you know, that's very, very heavy snow. Now, what is the red, Frankie?
That's freezing rain and ice pellets and sleet.
Yeah, your winter mix, probably freezing rain. Yeah.
Green is rain.
And the green is the rain, and then yellow, of course, is the heavier rain. So
yeah,
somewhere on that contact here, you don't have to go very far before you're into that really nasty, nasty stuff. So that's where Ivan and Sam of Donna Mantis podcast live. That's some of the worst weather going on in North America right now, Frankie. Look at all the rain. You're not kidding, are you? I honestly had no idea. Look at, like, we've had a little bit of flurries. That is just pouring in Prince George.
Yeah.
Like, I believed you, Karen. Like,
it is absolutely.
I didn't expect an hour
there,
later to look at the radar and see it like just fucking lit up still.
Yeah, it is absolutely freaking pouring out there right now.
That is something. Wow.
And I'm not going out to take a video.
Well, you have to now.
No, I do not.
That's the rules, or you'll be penalized.
Here too.
What was that, Hilding?
I said, I can hear it dripping off my eaves, so it's probably raining pretty good here too.
You do the video first, because you know what? The weather hits you first before it hits me. Just saying.
Where else we got things going on right now? Not a whole lot in Canada, though, is there? Just special weather statements and stuff. Oh, well. Oh, well. Close that. We'll go back to some of those cool images we had at the beginning of the show here in a second.
Okay, so I have to ask Brandon. Brandon,
Yes.
stop sending me voice clips when I'm out at hockey games.
Oh, sorry about that.
Because it's a really good thing you did a disclaimer and I didn't listen to it, because I would have burst out laughing, and my husband would have been like, what is your problem?
Was it one of your smoking good barbecue ones?
Oh, it was better than that.
It was better than that. It was your slush one.
Oh, yes. I'll have to send Joey the audio. He didn't listen to it. I can tell.
No, sometimes so much gets put in the group chat, and
I'll send it to you privately. Then you'll like it.
You'll appreciate it, Joey.
I have it right here.
All day long. All day long, my phone is dinging, and I just
Pretty much
ignore it.
Pretty much one of my first radio clips after I got back from holidays too.
Excellent.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Brandon. That you felt that you needed to send it to me.
Well, actually, it was last weekend there. Yeah. Where was this? All right, Joey.
-9s, -11s in Nevada. So you can really see that temperature difference there that Mark was referring to. Look at Colorado right now. Sitting some -20s up in the mountains, man. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's friggin' cold.
I'm going to guess probably about -9, -10. Yeah. Right around freezing. 0, I guess. Yeah, 0.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I find the Fahrenheit system really confusing, even though.
Oh yeah.
And what was really funny was I joked about it the other day on some Facebook page, or those like random things that just show up, and it was like I think it was like IFL Science. I fucking love science page. I think that's what it was, and it was a question. What's better, Fahrenheit or Celsius? And I wrote, you call yourself a science page? Right? And then you got these like this person who's like, have you ever looked at the benefits of Fahrenheit, this and that? And I was like, lady, I'm a weather guy. Like weather science. I'm telling you, one of these, all the meteorologists had, to make advanced calculations have to like switch over to metric. It's like this huge problem with academia in the United States. I've noticed when I'm watching, weather and science things, they're doing all their calculations in the metric system at the university level. All the common folk are like, I get 6 jugs to the mile. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. Man, that's crazy, eh?
I'm going to sign off because I have a dog and 3 cats outside that door wanting to get in here real bad.
Oh, my.
Have a good one, Karen.
My healer is just unconscious. Good night, Karen. He's learned that when I'm talking to just go unconscious. It's like the only time I can expect my healer to be passive, which is really handy because whenever I'm making a forecast video or making anything, he's just suddenly like, bah, fine, take my time. He's talking to nobody again. I'm out of here. He's talking to no one, folks. But yeah, this is crazy. So the average price of a house in here is 3.3 million American dollars. Isn't that wild? Mm-hmm. So, and what I was saying earlier is like to people is, every day 30,000 children, 25,000 children, whatever, die of preventable malnutrition on planet Earth. And it's not that I'm trying to say having empathy is wrong for people who've lost their luxury homes. But I'm saying, where's that common empathy every day? Every day is a matter of tragedy on planet Earth. Every fucking day, you know, a hospital in Gaza is getting bombed, and cities are getting leveled, you know, in Poland or in Ukraine, you know, and I don't understand why we don't have anger across the board. Why? But, you know, I get it. Like, it's very visible seeing pictures of a fire burning down neighborhoods. But what I wanted to point out was some of the victims. Well, here's the skies of Mordor. Isn't that something?
Wow. Yeah.
That is photo of the day, I think. Is this guy here? See this guy? This guy doesn't believe in climate change. And he said the fires were caused by liberal idiots. And now he lost everything. James Woods. What a guy. But anyways, yeah, you know, so it's... Of course, if I was down there, I'm a firefighter, I'd be like, let's get it. Let's get after it. So, you know, don't act like, or don't think that for a second I'm gonna suggest you don't help everybody equally. You know, you fight fire. That's what we do. It's give us a task. Oh, there's something at risk, whatever it is. I don't care. But you know, honestly, when I think about my fire career, and I've had opportunities to go into interface fires where I just didn't want to be near it. It's like, nah, I work in the wilderness, man. You know, it's toxic, that stuff, to go and confront those fires. So it's really unsafe just to fight them. Mm-hmm. You know, long term, the rate of 30 times more like 30% more likely. What is it? 30 times more likely to get cancer if you're a municipal firefighter, right?
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's something crazy. I mean, those numbers have been going down over the years because now we don't let people go into buildings without SCBA on and self-contained breathing apparatuses and stuff, right? But you know, you have to recognize that you don't just go throw people into these neighborhoods. Well, you know, all these plastics that make up a house and carcinogens are raging. Just, you got to get out of the way, get everyone safe, get out. And you're not going to fight it. There's nothing you can do when it was raging like it was yesterday. You're not going to fight it. So I think Brandon's going to bed, and we've lost Karen's gone to bed, and now Frankie's gone. And Mark Engles went to bed a long time ago. He gets up at 4 a.m. to start his weather forecasting for the energy sector. And he's going to go to the American Meteorological Society annual general meeting again this coming weekend. And I meant to ask him, unfortunately he's probably not watching anymore, but I meant to ask him to get clips when he sees someone like a Reed Timmer or you know, someone who's, you know, James Spawn or something, you know, and get a clip of I'm James Spawn, tornado scientist, you're watching the Meteorological Report, you know, something like that would be so. I got to remember to get on that. So thanks everybody who's out there been watching the live stream. Great to have had so many comments. It's you know, it's like a bonus when people are watching it on the YouTube. I find like it's like, oh, people watched it on the YouTube at all. And it's like, well, at least they're forced to hear it on the radio unless they turn their dials. At least it's on TV. You know, it's like playing. It's out there having legs and doing its thing. And you know, and a lot of the community stations. That Rogers, you know, that cable access community station, it's like a mandatory, you know, a big telecommunications company has to provide for Canadian content in a location. So what happens is a lot of those, like, that's like the community station, it's got the ticker tape in the bottom of like what's the event in your town going on and whatnot. And so a lot of like hair salons will have that on, or, you know, places that you wouldn't expect would be watching this show. So that's kind of the bonus for me. I find, like, randomly get people like, hey, I heard you on the radio. And it's like, yeah, I've had a radio show for years. It's like, but yeah, that's how it goes. I think I'm done. I think I'm gonna go make some food and call it a night. Thanks for coming on, Jason. You're
thanks
awesome.
for having me.
I'm really glad you came.
Yeah, me too. It was really good to meet you. I've heard so much about you for so many years, so it's nice to be on the show and meet you in person.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, like I'm not sure how many of these people you have, but Brandon's been on the show. Trey Campbell's been on the show. I'm not sure what Imogen Bailey, does she do this show?
She's like our TV producer.
Oh, okay. She's been on a few
Which
times.
doesn't mean she doesn't do a whole lot in that regard. She comes on the show sometimes. But her job, because I like having control of my product, her job's to make sure, I guess, that I understand what they want. You know, and that and vice versa, right? So she made the show happen in that way on the TV. And
wow.
And then occasionally I get memos like today. Can you make sure they can't download it from YouTube anymore? So can you send them directly? Okay, cool. So that kind of, that's great. And I know sometimes she's had to do edits and things like that. But it's not the executive producer is not a very time intensive job. But it is also more than an honorary position. Right? It's like it steers me to do my thing properly. Yeah, then we got a bunch of regulars. That was a bunch of them. We got Weather Center Manitoba guys. I've suspended Mike for a number of weeks from the show, and we don't need to talk about that on the live stream. But just I need him to come to the show with a different thing in a different way. And so, that's. Anyways. And then meteorologist Chris Calais. We have Hank Vliestra, who's a storm chaser in Wilkie, Saskatchewan. He's also like a geoengineer of some kind. And it's been a while since we've seen Jenny out from Saskatchewan. But yeah, there's a bit of a circle that is the report.
It's always nice to have regulars, just in case if a guest doesn't follow through or something like that, you got a lot of people you can back you up.
Well, and then I don't have to worry about guests so much too. We can worry about just talking about the weather. And so we do have special guest episodes a couple times a month. Probably not half the episodes we'd have someone like you and have the format like this, but a little less than half. But we've had a couple really good ones on lately. Like we had my friend John Clark come on, talk about his essay, Climate and Class Struggle, and talking about how climate change affects disproportionately, and talking about the disasters that have been happening, climate fuel disasters, and who suffered the most under them. And it was a very interesting go around with him. We've had people from the Weather Network on, and Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC's meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff. We had Mark Grant come on there. He's a San Diego Padres play-by-play guy. So we've had, a bizarre mix of guests. But on comedy meteorology, we can do whatever we want, right? Whereas the other guys have this is a Storm Chaser podcast. We talk about storms all the time, and it's like that can be really pretentious. And it's also what everyone's used to. You turn on the Weather Channel or network, it's do.
Yeah.
We want to just like make it more real. It's like, well, we never know who's going to show up, and if you'd like to come on more, we'd love to have you because we don't have a date in Ohio. Meteorologist.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. I do a lot of other people's podcasts more than my own, so that would be fun. I'm almost a professional podcast guest at this point, more so than a host.
For a while, Frankie had me hooked into that, and I was like on podcasts all the time. And now I've kind of like, I don't know, for like the last 2 years, I think it probably happened during a fire season or something where I was just like, I started ignoring it. And then Frankie eventually stopped trying to get me onto everyone's podcasts. I'm just.
It's really hard, especially when you get asked a lot, because your DMs start filling up with people just randomly sending you links. And there was one guy that I would click his links quite a bit, but then he started sending me links to other people's shows that he wasn't even on. So I stopped looking at his DMs now.
Well, some of the podcasts maybe Frankie would randomly send me, and then I'd get on them and I'd be like, oh my God, Like, what am I doing here? It's like,
yeah, I know how that feels.
one of these things does not belong, and it's me. You know.
Yep, I was wondering if that was going to happen to me today, but you just never
No, this
know.
is like pretty
I thought
eclectic bunch here.
I
Whereas
thought
I
I'd
can
be
easily
fine, but
I can easily show up as like the weird redneck mountain man socialist fucking artist freak from northern Canada and totally not fit on some podcast from Virginia.
yeah.
Where they think things that I'm shocked by and say things that I find incredibly offensive and unnecessary. You know, just
Yeah.
and I'm a punk rock guy. People think I'm offensive, but but I'm not
Well,
a bigot.
Once I started telling Frankie's story about Mary firing up that joint in the background, I started to say it and I was like, oh man, I don't know if that's cool to talk about on here or not. So I was glad you were okay with that. It didn't hit me till I was like almost all the way done with that story.
Oh, it's like the last thing I do before I start live streaming is get stoned.
Yeah. I've been.
Yes, like this is British Columbia, man.
I always have to wait till after. I get very, very quiet and I don't talk very much. So I always have to wait. I get on my buddy's show and that happens, and then all of a sudden, like midway through the show, you can tell that it's hit because I just don't say anything anymore. I end up signing off in about 10 minutes after that.
Now, sometimes it helps me. Sometimes not saying anything is the right play when you're, is that like I'm host, but I'm not like it's not the Joey only show. So sometimes it's like wind it up. It's like I don't have to do anything right now. Everyone's talking. It's like I can just be patient and watch. But yeah, so I'll show you before you go. I'll show you where Wells is in the world, just to give you a picture here. I'll even go to I'll do it right. I'll get the Google Earth.
I used to have a guest on my show, and I loved having him on. The only bad thing was he was a legit con man, so it was kind of one of those things where it's like, man, I want to be associated with this guy, but he is highly entertaining with all his weird stories. But I could bring him on and just ask him 3 questions, and I could sit back for about 2 hours and just let him go. They were always really good shows too. He was a lot of fun. If you ever heard of John Cena, he used to be his manager.
Oh, really?
WWE's developmental territory. Yeah, he used to be roommates, I guess. So that was interesting.
That's funny. I've been finding myself. There's like this YouTube channel I click on, and it's got the 80s and early 90s wrestling episodes. It's like the Saturday episode you might see, or Saturday night's main events, or all those classic Showtime or whatever it was called, right, with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. And so I click that on.
Primetime wrestling, yeah.
Primetime wrestling, put it on in the background. But what happens now is because my TV, it's got YouTube on it. So if I'm watching a video, maybe I got World War II in real time on, or I got something on, but I'm not in the room at the same time, and that video ends, and then it will jump to the next video automatically, because it's not like my computer, which I can say don't jump to the next video or jump to this video instead. I can line it up. Where is it? And then so suddenly so now it's like every time wrestling comes on, every time a video ends, right? And so I've ended up over the last 2 months like watching a lot of these things that, we're both at the same age probably in the 80s. It's like I've got to explore deeper than at the time. And when it's 1989, you're 10 years old, and it's like you can get a fucking wrestling magazine, find out anything. It's like there's a pay-per-view going on, but I don't have pay-per-view. I'm a kid on a farm.
That's so funny, dude.
And the same with music too. You're trying to find out anything you can from the outside world back then, because you didn't have the internet.
It's
so
like
crazy now in your adulthood, you can kind of revisit those times. And
that's so crazy you put those two things together, because the first time I bought a wrestling magazine was in 1989. I have it in my room.
Which one is it?
It was a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. It was the year-end awards.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I had a
First
couple
one I
from
ever got.
'89 and '90 from like the WWF one, and especially the Brutus Barber beefcake. That was
Yeah, he was cool.
he
Do
was
you
a
remember
funny.
Sid Vicious?
Yeah.
He
He was
was a
like at
buddy
the
of
end of
mine.
my time, though, because by the time Sid Vicious started coming in, it was like wrestling was kind of getting, I was like, well, now I'm starting to listen to punk rock music and fucking
Yeah.
go hitchhike to town, you know.
He was a good guy, man. What really surprised me is he was very into church. And I don't know why. I mean, anybody can have their own beliefs, but I just didn't see him as a guy who would go to church on Sunday. He always just seemed like this big, imposing, towering, you know,
Well, and he was Psycho
guy who just
Sid.
exactly. You don't see Psycho Sid at Sunday
I
service
remember him
talking
like
to a deacon.
screaming,
Yeah.
Hogan, I'm gonna get you, and you're always hoping that they would, because Hogan's such a fucking tool. Did you see how this week Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan got just
Oh,
booed out of that wrestling thing?
yeah. I was watching live and it was incredible, man. He is so lucky. He is so lucky he was wearing sunglasses because the pain in that man's eyes. Oh my God, it had to be brutal.
Just
Well, just
did it to
like
himself, eh?
just like his theme song, man. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. Oh, that because those boos came crashing down and it
When
had
you
to
spend
hurt
40
inside.
years being a liar, screwing everybody over so that you can be the man, be the cool guy, and then talking shit to the world like you're so sweet and but it's all about he's just a megalomaniac narcissist, and other wrestlers hated him. I love like watching those old Honky Tonk Man interviews from a podcast like 20 years ago where Honky's just going on about what a piece of garbage Hulk Hogan is as a human being, right? And Honky didn't hold back about a lot of people. I think I quite like Honky Tonk Man as a human. He's, and he's a character I hated back then, but now in retrospect, I'm like, that is one of the greats, man. That guy, he was good, he was strong, he could wrestle, and his gimmick, he was always in character. He was fucking awesome at it. Like he's the Honky Tonk Man. That is who he is. He's, it wasn't some like, well, we're gonna give you this name. It's like he's the guy who looks like Elvis. It's like,
Yep. He's
he's so good.
man.
And then you listen to how like the trash talking he does of people. So here's British Columbia, obviously a long ways away from Ohio, but and so Vancouver way down there up in the coast, and then here's where Prince George is up in the very far north. So you go up this highway a long ways through the Fraser Canyon, through all the mountains and whatnot. You get far enough north, and you come to Quesnel, BC, and then you take the 26 highway out there to the beginning of the foothills of Wells and Barkerville, British Columbia. And this is
How
my
far
backyard.
How far away are you from the mountains, like driveways?
Well, I'm in them.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Well, now these are like foothill mountains here in town, right? And you don't get a real. I mean, if I put the 3D on, maybe you get a better sense of it. However, just on the other side of the hills here is where basically the first set of larger mountains start. And we'll
Yeah,
come
that's
back
pretty
around
cool,
here in a
man.
second, and I'll get the right angle and stop it.
My dad's side of the family and my mom's side's from down south, and there was a lot of mountains where they grew up. And we would go there for vacation a couple of times a year. So I really love mountains. That must be a beautiful place to be.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
That gives you the sense of it. Here we are in Wells. From town, we can see Two Sisters Mountain, Sliding Mountain. These are all, right over top of it. Here's where Barkerville is. This is the historic gold mine park, where in 1863 there was one of the richest gold strikes in North American history happened right there, and tens of thousands of people flooded to the valleys here. You go a little bit further this way, you come into the Bower Chain. The Bower Chain is a large series of lakes that goes all the way around these mountains. It's a big provincial park. Goes all the way around these mountains, and so you can canoe all the way around them.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And then,
have you ever done that?
No, but I worked for parks. So I didn't work the east side. I worked the west side here, but that involved you take a jet boat and see if I can go back to 2D here for a second. And get a better look at the parks. There we go. So this whole stretch was my stretch in through Lanese Lake and up and around. So these don't look like much, these lakes, but they're portageable. So we put in at the Bowen Lake at the ranger station, take the jet boat all the way up, had another ranger cabin at Sandy Lake here. Have a couple portages, like boats that are stashed. So you we wheelbarrow to the next boat and then unlock it from its whatever dock we have it moored to. No one else has a boat, a power boat. So that was the cool thing about the job. And then we come all the way up through here and into these immaculate mountains. So one of my spectacular mountaineering adventures this fall was to the top of this ridge right here. And that was something, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, I guess while we're here, I was going to sign off and now we're still talking, but while we're here, I might as well show it off.
Is Hilding your first name or your last name?
That's my first name, Hilding
I like
Donaldson.
that.
What's
Okay,
that?
I like that name. I've never heard it before. I really like it.
It's a Swedish name, and actually, the man I was named after was kind of said, "Oh, we shouldn't be using it." And my dad wanted to look up why, and he found out that the original name was of the Swedish men who were in charge of dosing the drugs for the Berserkers. If you know who the Berserkers were.
Yeah.
So actually, Hilding was a title, not really a name. And then it got used as a name. And in the Second World War, they really tried not to use it. And now they've just changed the meaning to mean hero. So now it's pretty good again.
There you go.
Hero.
It's kind of interesting, though.
Did you give yourself this name? Nah, I'm kidding. I didn't know that, Hilding. I just thought it was a cowboy name.
No, it's a Swedish name. Actually,
I would have never
in
guessed.
Swedish it said Hilding, and it has an E in it. The man I was named after took the E out to make it easier to say in English.
There's my little red healer up at 8,000 feet.
Wow.
That's
nice.
it, but that's my backyard.
Man.
There's no trail to where I am. I just went there.
That's the way to do it, man.
That's
I love that kind of stuff.
If you ever find yourself in BC, you want to come check out this part of the world. And what's great about this part of the world is there's no, like, the parks are wilderness parks. So it's not like there's Whistler Town Center or it's not like Banff or whatever. There's like tour buses of people coming. I mean, there is a lot of tourists for Barkerville, but the mountains themselves here are just, fair game. There's like not a lot of trails. There's more and more logging. So that's why I was able to get to this place, is that they'd put some new roads through, which won't last very long before they deactivate them. And I was like, well, while I have that shot, I need to get out towards there, because that logging road basically cut off 10 kilometers of walking, right?
Yeah, something similar. I mean, not really similar, but there's a park around us that has a waterfall and like a small lake underneath. And we had a really, really big drought here, and we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s. And I was with a buddy, and the lake dried up because it was so dry out. And we thought, you know what? We're never going to be able to just sit here and smoke ever again, because we never thought we would in the first place. So we went and sat where the lake was and just had a good time, man. So that was interesting. So I would 100% be up that mountain with you. I would like nothing more than that. That sounds like a good time, man.
It's the way. It's the way. My fire career affected my mountaineering in funny ways, because you spend a lot of time climbing mountains to be a wildland firefighter. I mean, I'm getting old, but I can still do it. You spend a lot of time climbing mountains, but you don't necessarily get to climb the ones that you wanted to climb, and then the season's over and your body's beaten. And just I know British Columbia is so incredibly different than Ohio. I've been to Ohio.
Oh, yeah?
I even hitchhiked through it.
Oh, nice. Where at?
And so I I mean, my aunt used to live in Steubenville, Ohio. I grew up about 2.5, maybe 3 hours northeast of Toronto.
Oh, all right.
And so we went for vacations down there when I was a kid, like to go visit my aunt and stuff. And but then I wanted to go to a music festival back in 1997. So my buddy and I hitchhiked through. We hitchhiked through Cleveland. It was fucking brutal. Like the weather was over 100 degrees. It was so hot. And we were like on this off ramp in Cleveland, and nobody would even look at us. They'd like pull over, you know, these like gangster guys and be like, yell a bunch of shit at us and laugh and drive away. Like, man, this is fucking terrifying. I just want to get out of here. Yeah, it's like, and you spent like 24 hours stuck in Cleveland, literally. And then once we got out of Cleveland, everything was fine for our rest of our trip. We ended up in through Michigan, and of course, got easy rides down into Indiana. It was like the first vehicle that drove by was this weird van of hillbillies, and like, hey, get in. And we're like, okay. And you know, everything was pretty easy from there on into the heartland, because then you're away from like the bigger cities and you can avoid them as you know, the bigger highways, which are harder to hitchhike on, right? So it's like you get stuck in, someone's taking you, you get in a vehicle and like, well, I'm going the direction you're going. Well, I'm stopping in Cleveland. And at the time, it seemed like a good idea. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so hot though. It was so hot. Like like Ontario's just as hot as Ohio gets, you know, like it gets stupidly humid hot. It was one of those times where it was just like, like pure suffering standing on the side of a road for a day, like pure suffering. We were trying to get a run away from our fire, and then all these other fires popped up and cut our road off. So we're like driving through fires to just get away from our fire. It's like the fire is like starting its own thunderstorm and making new fires.
Wow.
Time to get away. Time to go. It's blowing up everywhere, so it's not quite as dramatic as California this week. But yeah, I've seen some fire that was pretty impressive, man. I tell you, I've seen some pretty impressive fires. There's more than one way to get your gear across. I actually loaded up that canoe and is our escape route to get our stuff out of this section.
Oh, nice.
Rather than hike it all the way over. It's just, yeah. A little like looking forward to another fire season here. It's gonna happen. Well, I think 21 people are still watching. Blows me away. Well, I'm glad everyone's still here, and I'm gonna go and get on to making myself some food. Nice to talk to you, Jason. And
yeah, you too, man. I'd come back anytime.
I would like that. Very
I'd
much.
love to see you back on again.
Yeah, it had a good time, and it was nice to meet you guys. So
I'll tell Frankie to add you to the group chat.
Okay. He's added me to about 17, so I might not know that he added me to another one.
You might even be on there already.
Be in the group chat. I just don't know.
Might even be on there already.
I swear, it feels like he adds me to one every single day. I know he doesn't, but he was very excited about the day, man. I think he messaged me 10 to 12 times just to make sure that I had the link. I knew what time it was, that I got an email from you, just whatever he could think of.
Yeah, he was begging Joey for the link at noon already.
Well, often excited. If I think we're gonna have a guest, I'll make the link days ahead of time. Mm-hmm. But when I didn't really hear from you, I was like, oh well, and I just kind of got lazy. And then when we don't have a guest, I'll like make it like an hour before the show, right? So Frankie's like, make the link. Okay. So I'm the same thing. You know, I'm good at the controls. I'm good at the editing. I'm a good host in many ways, but in terms of like being organized and paying attention to my messages, and no, not at all.
That's the beauty of it, Ray. I love that about you.
Those are some weaknesses. Yeah, for sure. I've been so into Batman Arkham Knight for the past 10 days. It's helped me get through the doldrums of the winter here. Well, that's the show for this week, everybody. Hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'm going to go make some supper. It's 8:30. It's getting late. It's time to eat.
Have a good week.
Good to see you, Hilden. Love you, buddy. Good to see you, Jason. Thanks for being out there, everybody, and on viewer watching land. We'll have the podcast version done sometime tomorrow. I would think. I probably won't get to it tonight. Probably start it in the morning. So expect that. We'll go up on the YouTube. And then when we do that, we'll get sent to all the radio stations and all the TV and all that, this and that and the other.